There's a bitter truth we've deliberately ignored for thousands of years. The loving look in your pet dog's eyes has very little to do with love the way humans imagine it. We've always clung to a comforting illusion that dogs see us as family, admire our intelligence, or even view us as gods who provide food. But the reality is far more straightforward. What you're seeing is not a deep understanding of the human soul. It's the result of a remarkably effective decoding system designed for adaptation and survival. At a laboratory at the University of Florida, Professor Clive Wynne, who spent 20 years studying everything from pigeons to marsupials, helped uncover this reality. He makes a claim that might leave you disappointed. Animals do think, but not in the way we do. They don't sit around reflecting on what they're doing or contemplating the human friend standing in front of them. Instead, they operate through an incredibly efficient decoding system built for adaptation and survival. We often take pride in the fact that chimpanzees share up to 98% of their DNA with humans, and therefore assume their psychology must be 98% similar to ours. But this is exactly the trap of anthropomorphism. Think about a 2-year-old child. On average, that child naturally learns around 300 new words every month. Meanwhile, an adult chimpanzee, even after years of training to press the correct buttons on a computer in exchange for a grape, can never achieve even the most basic level of human communication. To a chimpanzee, you are not a friend to confide in. You are a complex entity that controls access to food, and it is simply learning how to press the right buttons to influence your behavior. A similar story unfolds beneath the deep blue ocean with dolphins, the very symbol of intelligence and friendliness. We like to believe that dolphins possess a complex language based on ultrasonic sounds, and that they engage in mating for pleasure, much like humans do. But deeper research has exposed many of these misconceptions. A dolphin's sonar system is truly one of nature's greatest engineering marvels, allowing it to identify the material composition of an object from a considerable distance with remarkable accuracy. But it is a navigation tool, not a system for chatting the way we often imagine. In fact, the reality of their lives is far more straightforward. Studies conducted in Australia have shown that dolphin mating behavior is often forceful and aggressive. Perhaps the ideas of satisfaction or friendship that we attribute to them are simply projections of human psychology onto a species that is fundamentally different from us. So what about the animals that live closest to us in our own homes? The contrast between dogs and cats is one of the clearest examples of how animals read human beings. Dogs, descendants of pack hunters, have spent hundreds of thousands of years studying us. An experiment conducted in Hungary revealed a fascinating detail. A dog will never waste its time begging for food from someone who is turned away or cannot see it. If two people are sitting on a park bench with two tempting sandwiches, the dog will almost always approach the person who is looking at it. This does not necessarily mean it loves you in a human or romantic sense. Rather, it is an expert observer of behavior. It understands that your gaze is a signal that food sharing may be about to happen. Cats, on the other hand, solitary hunters by nature, maintain a level of indifference that is deeply instinctive. They do not need to understand complex human social cues in order to survive because, throughout their evolutionary history, they never had to rely on a pack to fill their stomachs. To a cat, you may simply be part of its environment, an entity that provides warmth and safety but certainly not a master. It feels compelled to please at all costs. Yet in the natural world, filled with cold survival instincts, there are still exceptions that leave us amazed by the way animals treat one another, and perhaps even the way they treat us. Take vampire bats in Central America, for example. Despite their intimidating name, they are the only known species besides humans that demonstrates a form of reciprocal altruism. A vampire bat that goes 3 consecutive nights without feeding on blood will die. When a bat returns to the colony with an empty stomach, another bat may regurgitate some of its own blood meal to keep its companion alive. Detailed studies have confirmed that vampire bats possess remarkable memories. They remember exactly which individuals helped them in the past and are willing to return the favor when the opportunity arises. This is not moral reasoning. It is an intelligent survival strategy built on reciprocity. When we ask, what do animals really think about humans? We often expect an answer that suggests some kind of deep emotional connection. But the reality seems less romantic and far more remarkable. Animals do not see us as individuals with names, careers, or worries about the future. To them, humans are a series of behavioral patterns. They learn that the rattling sound of keys means you're about to leave, and that the sound of a food container being opened means a feast is about to begin. They observe us far more closely than we can imagine. Every step you take, every change in your tone of voice, and every habit you display is analyzed and stored within their survival system. Humans are not the main characters in the story of an animal's life. We are simply an important part of their environment. Accepting that animals do not think like humans does not diminish the value of the bond we share with them. If anything, it makes that relationship even more extraordinary. It shows that despite living in two completely different cognitive worlds, humans and animals can still find a common language, not through words, but through an understanding of each other's behavioral patterns. True respect for nature does not come from trying to turn animals into little humans covered in fur or scales. True respect comes from recognizing and accepting their differences. When you look into your dog's eyes tonight, remember that it is not judging your career decisions, nor does it care whether you are rich or poor. It is looking at you as a familiar and connected presence, a guide through this strange world, and above all, it is using hundreds of thousands of years of evolution to tell you, I understand you through what you do, not through what you say. That may be the most honest form of understanding we can ever receive from another living being on this planet.